Good morning, everyone. My name is Azizul Moksud. I am Associate Professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and Yamaguchi University. And I'll be very happy to give lecture to all of you. And the title of this lecture is Current Status and the Future Trend in Energy. So basically in this lecture, we will learn what is the state of energy right now in the world and what will be the future of energy in the world. So we will mainly discuss about the current situation and the background of the situation and what should we do or how to think for the future. So I hope all of you will enjoy this lecture. And the second part of this lecture, I will mainly show my own research, which is related to bioelectricity generation from the microbial fuel cell. So bacteria can generate electricity even a small amount, so we can check it. So before going to the main lecture, I just want to make sure that all of you have already registered your name in Moodle, and today's keyword is energy. Okay, so if you have any problem to register, just inform me in chat or by email or something. So this is very important. And let's see. And this is the current state of the world and people's lifestyle. So this pyramid, which is called the economic pyramid, is a very important in this world. And it means that the number of people who are living in this world less than $2 per day is about like 60%. So you can understand more than 50% of this world population who live their lives less than $2 per day. So this is very sad reality, but this is fact. And the interesting thing is that wherever these people live in this world, for example, whether they live in Asia or whether they live in Africa or whether they live in some other Europe or North America, they have some common characteristics of their living. So what is that? Here I just made some like 10 main characteristics. Number one, they don't have enough food wherever they live, whether they live in Asia or Africa or Latin America or North America. They don't have enough food to live. And number two, they don't have good shelter. So many people are homeless due to they cannot afford the home. This is like price of home is also very high, and rent of uh, is also very high. So they cannot afford the um, like their house or rent house. And then they don't have good shelter. Okay, so it means they don't have good shelter to live, and they don't have safe water to drink. So water is like our basic requirements to live, right? So but you will be surprised to know that many people in this world, they don't get enough water, fresh water to drink, or for drinking water. So this is also very sad reality. And number four, they don't have enough electricity or energy. So this is the point today. We'll mainly focus this number four, and we will discuss detail what is the energy situation in this world, and like how is the condition of this world energy situation. And then they don't have good medical facility. So it is you can understand, like during this epidemic epidemic situation, COVID-19. Many people are suffering from COVID, but they cannot go to the hospital for treatment, and eventually they die. And many parts of the world, they just they don't, I mean, afford the medical facility. These huge people, because of the cost of the healthcare and also the medicine and like treatment. And then they don't have good sanitation, so it means they don't have good toilet. Okay, so the like sanitary latrine or good toilet, this is also very essential for good environment and uh, to protect the environment against pollution. But you will be surprised to know that many people in this world, they don't have these facilities. So this is also very sad reality. Number seven, they can't be taken high quality education. So education is the key to all development or all success, you know. But many people in this world, they are still far from the education, far behind. So they cannot get admitted into the good school or good education, or even they can go to school, they cannot complete the school, they become just dropout. And sometimes they just uh, complete the school or high school, but eventually they cannot go to the university due to the financial problem or due to other problems. So this is a sad reality that even they have merit or they have enough brilliant to go to the university or complete the university, but they cannot afford it. And then uh, number eight is they don't have good environment. So I mentioned earlier. So environment is one of the very important factor. Like good environment is very essential for our healthy life. So healthy environment means healthy life. So it can protect us from different types of uh, sickness and other things. But it is very sad reality that many developing countries, especially these 60% people who live $2 per day, they don't live in a good, very good environment. Actually, they are far uh, below the standard of good environment. So they just live very serious condition, because if you cannot manage your waste, eventually it will cause a lot of problems. So uh, not only environmental pollution that cause the problem to the surroundings, but from this pollution, actually it will again cause some other health problem. So you will be uh, like, you can understand that good environment is very very essential. So you cannot just throw your waste here and there, but people are doing that. And then number nine, they don't have good transportation, like bridges, roads, highways. So yeah, good transportation system is one of the basic requirements for development for any countries. And you can see that in most of these people who live like $2 per day, they don't have enough transportation facilities. So they are far from the development. And number 10, they don't have solid waste management system. So what does it mean? So solid waste management system is something like uh, it starts from the like collection of the waste from your house, and then transportation to final disposal site like landfill or incineration plant. So if this whole management system is not good, then your environment will be affected. The environmental pollution like air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and like surroundings pollution will be happen, and that will be very serious damage. The another thing I didn't mention it here, but which is also very much important, I think, is that these 60% of the people world population who live less than $2 per day, they are one of the most sufferers of natural disasters. So it means when there is some natural disasters occur, they are the people who will suffer a lot. So for example, they cannot afford housing in the safe place, so they live near the like lowlands or some um, like hazardous area, natural hazard area, flood or high tide, or sometimes uh, landslide. So when the natural disaster happens, they are the these are the people who are suffering most. And this is the point I wanted to mention, that among these 10 points, if you look very carefully, who will improve this situation? Like, who are the people who live, who can change this situation or change this current state of the world? The engineers, especially civil engineers like you can change the world. You can change this situation. How? If you look at number two, like who will make the good shelter? So civil engineers are the most responsible people who will make the good shelter or affordable shelter for the people. And then who will provide the safe drinking water, like water supply systems, water treatment system. So these are the responsibilities for the civil engineers or the environmental engineers. So you can understand. And number four, they don't have enough electricity or energy. So we will see how alternate energy, which can be also responsible for the engineers. And like everything, sanitation system or like transportation system, good environment, waste management, and to build a safe society against the natural disasters. So these are all the things we can make possible, the engineers can make possible by their efforts, by their ideas. So I think all of you are the like civil engineers, will be the civil engineers in the future. So you are one of the most responsible people or responsible persons who can change this world, change this 60% world population who live less than $2 per day. Now let's see the what is the situation of the world's energy condition or state of the energy in this world right now. So this is a very famous picture. Maybe some of you has already familiar with this. And this is the this picture actually provided by NASA. They took this photo at night, and it is called the world at night. So if you look very carefully, you can find that this world, many parts are very bright at night, like the North America or in Japan or some parts of Europe. But if you look at Africa, if you look at Latin America, some parts of Asia, Polynesia, so you will find that there are there are many people who live their life at dark at night. So it means that they cannot provide the energy, they cannot provide the good energy system. Okay, so they cannot get enough energy. So this is the current state of energy in the world. So please remember, not all the people can afford electricity or energy at night, so they live in the dark, and this is one of the reason why they cannot become developed. So look at the electricity's condition. So in right now, according to United Nations, 1.6 billion people who live without electricity. So what does it mean? So it means that many people who are now living in this world, like almost 25% of the people, or around 22 to 25% of the people, they live without electricity at night. So it means they cannot study at night, the children cannot study at night, or no good industry can be developed, no good medical facilities can be developed. So can you imagine, like in Japan, so if you don't have energy or electricity for one day, so it will be very serious problem, right? But these people, they can live, without electricity for the whole of their life. Or and many countries in the world, they can produce electricity only half of their demand. So mm, it is another problem, like they cannot afford the electricity, the country cannot provide the enough electricity so that all the people can get that electricity every time. So this is very sad. So this is the one of the major problems for development in many countries in the world. And now let's see what happened. People are talking about clean energy or bioenergy for a long time, because the fossil fuels which we are using right now, like coal or natural gas, they produce a lot of carbon dioxide, which is again not so good for environment. And so we have to find some alternate source for energy, like bioenergy, for example. And for that cases, we will see later, the first generation biofuels, they use like 40% of our corn and 12% of our soybean, and also a huge amount of sugar cane to produce the bioethanol or biodiesel. So this is not good. Why? Because these are food products basically, and if you use food to make the transportation fuel, I think this is unnecessary. Why? Because like 100 million people of this world, they are hungry every day. So the basic need for these people are food, not the gasoline. So what we have to provide them, first food and then the gasoline. And not only that, if we use lot of food to make the transportation fuels, it will ultimately increase the food prices. So people cannot buy food, especially that 60% people who live in poverty, like less than 60 $2 per day. So they will be suffered. Okay, they cannot eat. Ultimately they will get like famine, or like they cannot get food, and ultimately many people are will be died, so without food. So this is very sad. So what we have to do, we have to find some like technology in where both we can get the food and also get the um, energy. So let's see the what is green and safe energy. So we need energy, especially green and safe electrical energy, in our daily needs. So what does it mean? Like, you know, we need energy. So, but after the some nuclear power plant accident, so people are said, okay, we also have to find the new source of energy, which is not only green but also safe source of energy. So people are trying to find some safe source of energy right now. So not only nuclear power plant, not only coal based or natural gas based electricity supply, but people are trying to find some new source of energy. And here comes the point, renewable energy. So what is renewable energy? So in Japanese it is called再生可能 energy. So renewable energy is generally defined as the energy that comes from resources which are naturally replenished. So it means it will never be finished. Okay. For the case of fossil fuel like coal or gas or oil, so it will be finished on the maybe one maximum another 100 years or so, because people are just extracting this amount of energy every time. So it means that we cannot afford the fossil fuel for a long time. So this is true. So we have to find some new source of energy which will never be finished. And for that cases, these are the examples of renewable energies. Like number one, the most popular one is solar energy, then wind energy, biomass, ocean, microbial fuel cell, or you can say in general biofuels, geothermal heat energy, hydropower, etc. So these are the 8 main sources of renewable energy, which are now considering maybe future, for the future it will be main source of energy. Then where we can use the renewable energy? So one thing is that renewable energy replaces the conventional fuels in 4 distinct area. So what does it mean? How can we use this renewable energy? Number one, we can generate the electricity, okay, like other energy like natural gas or like natural oil. We can use those fuels to make energy or electricity. So at the same time, we can use the renewable energy to make the electricity generation. Then hot water or space heating. So what does it mean? So especially in the cold regions, so people need a lot of energy to um, warm their house or warm their spaces. So hot water or space heating can be done with these renewable sources of energy as well. So you do not need other electricity to do that. Then motor fuels. Well, so this is like all the same what we can use in the uh, for example, what we can use in the as the motor fuels like first generation biofuels. So yeah, this is also possible using the motor fuels from the renewable sources. And number four, rural or off-grid energy service. So in many places in the rural area, so it is difficult to provide the on-grid energy service. On-grid energy service means like um, by using the cable connections throughout. But for example, if it is remote area or off-grid, so in those places, renewable sources of energy is much easier to provide. So let's see the important topic. What is the advantages and disadvantages of renewable energy? So this is the renewable energy like solar, biomass, water, geothermal, and wind. And what is important is that this renewable energy, number one benefit or advantage is it is good for environment. Okay, so it will not pollute the environment compared to non-renewable or fossil fuel energy. But there is some disadvantage as well. For example, many of the um, like renewable sources of energy, they are very much connected or concerned with the weather system, natural weather system, for example solar. So if it is like cloudy day or rainy days, it cannot provide enough electricity. Similarly, if there is no wind, you cannot get the wind power. If there is not so much biomass to cut and produce, you cannot get the biomass energy. So these are some problems or disadvantages as well. So renewable energy is good for environment. This is the best benefit or advantage, but at the same time, the generated power or amount is not so high still now, but people are doing research. So compared to non-renewable energy, the efficiency of renewable energy is not that much right now. Then, so what is the sources and consumptions of renewable energy? Look at this figure. You'll be surprised to know total world energy consumption by source is the maximum renewable energy comes from biomass heat, and then solar hot water, geothermal heat, hydropower, ethanol, biodiesel, biomass electricity, wind power, geothermal electricity, solar PV power, solar CSP, ocean power. So you'll be surprised to see, I think biomass heat is the maximum. So where does this heat from biomass are using? As I mentioned, that 60% of the people who live less than $2 per day and they cannot afford the electricity, they don't have electricity, and they don't have like uh, stove, gas stove or electricity stove to cook their food. So what they are doing, they just burn the wood, dry wood, and while burning the dry wood they can get heat energy and they can cook their food. So this is very interesting. So the main sources of renewable energy is wood. Okay, then let's see detail like what is solar power. Solar power is the conversion of sunlight into electricity directly using photovoltaics PV. So it means solar power is kind of solar cells which can give us electricity from the sunlight, and it is one of the most popular, and so far among the renewable energies this is the most efficient. So people are using solar power for their houses for providing electricity. So interestingly, it has many benefits as I mentioned, because it can provide electricity from the natural sources, like which will never be replenished. So solar sunlight or solar radiation will never be finished. So it means it will provide electricity for a longer period of time. But at the same time, it has some disadvantages. As I mentioned, it is very much related with the weather condition. So if it is like cloudy day or continuous rainy days, you cannot get enough electricity. So it means that you are somehow dependent with the weather condition or naturally. And there are many benefits actually. So if you look at these benefits, the cell can be used as off grid. It means in the remote area, like in the village, only one house or far away from the national grid or national connection, so they can just light up with this solar cell. Then wind power. So what is wind power? Wind power is the conversion of wind energy into useful for energy, such as using wind turbines to make electrical power, windmills for mechanical power, wind pumps for water pumping or drainage, or sails to propel ships. So you can understand wind power is another big sources of electricity, and wind power can be used for produce electricity. Not only that, and for example, for windmills, it can be used for mechanical power for water irrigation and other purposes. um, yeah, this is one traditional windmill. Like it can be used for mechanical purposes like irrigation of the uh, agricultural field. And the large scales wind farms, like mainly which are offshore wind pumps, these are looks like this. I mean, it stands inside the sea or ocean, and the important thing is that the foundation or base of these um, wind farms, they are designed by the civil engineers like you. So this is also very interesting. Whenever you make or build something, it is related to the wind turbine foundation, which is another in civil engineering, more specifically we call energy geotechnics field. So these are the uh, scopes of civil engineers in this field. But there is one problem of this system. It looks beautiful, it can be very useful because many parts of the world have very windy. Wind is, they can use this resource as the like base supply of electricity. But the problem is that as it is built in the offshore or inside the like ocean, so when it is blowing very high wind, high speed wind, then it turns very fast. Okay, it means you cannot see the propeller like this. Now it has three propellers, one, two, three. But if you turns start to moving, you cannot see these propellers clearly. And this is the happening when the poor birds who flew away, and when they come to the option turbines, they just cut with the blade and died or killed. So this is a very sad. So for the environmental point of view or ecosystem point of view, offshore wind turbine needs more research how to make it safe against the um, like killing the birds and everything. Then ocean energy. So ocean, all of you know, like in our world we have like 2/3 is water, right? So, and ocean is the great source of energy, you know, like ocean waves, ocean tides, ocean salinity difference, and ocean temperature differences all can be used for using the energy or electricity generation. So, and you can imagine if the efficiency of this energy become very high, then it can create a lot of electricity because we have vast oceans surrounding us, which are very much potential of electricity generation. Then the movement of water in the world's ocean creates a vast store of kinetic energy. So it means that when the world's ocean uh, move, or you know, the current or the wave, which is also naturally controlled, so they can be used for the electricity generation. And this energy can be harnessed to generate electricity to power homes, transport, and industries. Of course, wherever you wish, you can use this energy. And ocean energy has the potential to provide a sustainable source of renewable energy around the world. So one of the most important ocean energy technology, and it is called OTEC, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion. So OTEC. And what is the system of this? Because they use the difference of sea water temperature. Please carefully look. So they, in OTEC, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion System, they use the temperature differences between the surface water, seawater, and the deep water. So if the difference is around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, they can produce some electricity by having some devices like some heat exchangers, like turbine, condenser. So this is one cycle for OTEC. So many people can produce um, electricity from ocean power, especially in Japan and like Okinawa, where the uh, sea water is warmer, surface water is warmer, then this system is very effective. Then let's see the another part of today's lecture. We called it biofuel. So biofuels are energy which are derived from the biomass. So living plants and living animals, or like animals, dead animals, they can be a source of energy. So biofuels is one kind of energy which are derived, or what we can get from the biomass. And the interesting thing is that these biomass not necessarily just waste materials like cow dung, or like mm, chicken droppings or leaf molds or something, but it, well, if it is like other food sources like corn, soybean, uh, sugar cane, sugar beet, and other food items, they can also be used for biofuels. That is the what I wanted to focus later. So there are three types of biofuels. The first one called the first generation biofuels. So what is this actually? The first generation biofuels are better known as bioethanol, biodiesel. They are used worldwide as for vehicles. They are mostly used in combination with fossil fuels like gasoline and petroleum. So it means like corn or potatoes, beet or sugar cane, rape oil or sunflower oil, they can produce some bioethanol or biogasoline or biodiesel. So those mix with the real gasoline in different percentages, and then they can be used as motor fuel. The thing is that it is easy because we already know this can be possible from the food products by the help of the microbes or bacteria. So, uh, but the problem is that when this is used for a long period of time, then it means you will just destroying your food products. So you cannot make your car gasoline or transportation fuels while you need a lot of gasoline for your, I mean, it does not be sustainable. It cannot be sustainable. If you make just a lot of gasoline from the food products, it cannot be sustainable. So uh, this is the reason why the first generation biofuel is not so popular, or even popular, it has not future, because you cannot destroy the food. As I mentioned earlier, if you use food to make car fuels, it means you cannot get food, or the food price will increase, and that will cause some social unstabilization all over the world, because the people who do not get the food regularly, they will be very angry. So they will say, what is the necessary to destroy the food, and like just to make the biofuels from these food products. So this is the main problem. Then another problem is that if you want to make your biofuels, okay, you just take um, increase the production of, for example, corn. It means it will destroy some forest or some good land, and you will just make some um, cornfield or soybean field to take more soybean, more oil. So that is another big problem, that first generation biofuel, why it is not so popular is that because of the use of food product, it cannot be sustainable. And for the second generation biofuels, so people are thinking, okay, we should not use the food because a lot of people are hungry. Then what will be the alternate? So when people are thinking the alternate source of biofuels, the second generation biofuels idea has come, and it is nothing but some sources of energy from the organic waste, gumi, like agricultural waste and forest residues, sometimes specific crops like fast growth crop is. So uh, and after some bacterial metabolism, these organic uh, matters or organic waste, they can be turned into hydrocarbons or ethanol. So this is another way to get biofuels, and which is called second generation biofuel. So it looked like sustainable because they do not use any food product to destroy like first generation. But the problem is that we do not have enough waste, organic waste supply to provide the enough electricity generation from this methodology. So what is important is that not only technology, but you have to have the resource, right? Then third generation biofuel, what is that? So when people try the first generation and they found that no, we cannot use the food product for the electricity generation, and then they think about, okay, let's do waste materials. But the problem is that waste material is also not so convenient, because the amount required of waste materials, and then what they are doing in third generation biofuels, the people use algae to make the biofuels. So algae is kind of plants, those grow in the water, okay, and they grow very fast. So people think, okay, this is not food, this is not waste, but can we do that? Like, can we extract biodiesel or from glycerin products from this? So now this is becoming popular, so it is still working. And what is the future trend of biofuel? So in this slide, I just show the first generation, second generation biofuel, third generation biofuel, and future is fourth generation biofuel. The first generation uses the edible biomass. Edible biomass means like what we can eat. In other sense, what it is, food products like sugar beet, sugar cane, wheat, corn, soybean, like this. There are many other types actually. Then second generation, okay, after the first generation was not so successful, people discovered the second generation, so they used non-edible biomass for second generation. So what is non-edible biomass? Like wood, straw, grass, and of course organic waste, which I mentioned earlier. And then third generation biofuels, it is like microalgae or macroalgae. It can be also generated in the seawater. So it is easy to produce. I mean, especially if during the warm season, you probably see the color of the pond or lakes, they become changed. So it means those time the algae, microalgae or sometimes macroalgae grow, and they can generate their biomass. Then fourth generation, okay, this is the future, and some of the researcher is still growing. So this is like breakthrough of the third generation. So pyrolysis, solar to fuel, and pyrolysis is kind of by using some chemical reactions, you can um, do some degradation. Then solar to fuel, engineered algae gasification. So nowadays you can change the uh, gene gene editing, genome editing is very common now. So people are thinking, well, shall we make um, some fourth generation biofuels which has never been seen before by making the genome editing or by making the providing the engineered algae. And from these all background, it comes in mind that what we have to find a new source of renewable energy, which is at the same time biofuel. And For that reason, microbial fuel cell is one of the best. So what is microbial fuel cell? So microbial fuel cells are bioelectrochemical devices which convert biomass um, to electricity through the metabolic activity of microorganisms. So in Japanese, it is called Biseibutsu Nendryo Denchi. So in my laboratory, I started this research since 2010 or so. So almost 10 years I'm conducting, and we have a lot of mm, papers and other things related to this. So this is nothing but in a natural process, when biomass is degraded by the bacteria, they release electron. And what we can do, we can catch this electron by providing some anode and make an external circuit, external resistance, and then come to the cathode. So these are the theoretical, or you can say the natural way of electricity generation from microbial fuel cell. Then characteristics of residential waste. So a large portion of total waste is biodegradable waste, both in developing countries and industrial parts of the world. So in the developing country, almost 80% waste is food waste, okay? So which is organic. And in the industrialized countries, you can find around 45 to 50% waste is from organic source. But as a matter of fact, they are not recycled properly, which is very much needed. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For example, in Japan, all the organic waste is just collected with other combustible waste and just burnt into the incineration plant. But the problem is that if you burn your things in incineration plant, it will eventually has very low calorific value because it has lot of moisture content. So we cannot just burn the organic waste because of the low calorific value. However, we have to think some new sources of use this. So develop a microbial fuel cell by using a kitchen garbage for bioelectricity generation is the first objective of this study. And to convert or recycle the kitchen garbage for soil conditioner by hybrid composting method as a byproduct of bioelectricity, we can use the compost as soil conditioner or soil fertilizer, organic fertilizer. So we designed this cell in that way that we put the biomass from organic waste, which is like this, and we put on one anode, one cathode, some water, and after connecting this whole circuit, when the organic waste is degraded by the bacteria, they release electron and we can catch this electron. So this is the schematic diagram of laboratory test of MFC. So we put the biomass from kitchen garbage and put the anode and cathode like this. And what we used is kitchen garbage, leaf mold, water, and effective microorganisms. And what we did, we mixed it properly, placed on the cell, and then connected with the electrode material. So this time we use carbon fiber, nanofiber as electrode materials. And here is the result. So initially the voltage increased very sharply, and then gradually it decreases and reached at the peak. After that, gradually decrease, and uh, finally, the when the food of the inside the biomass is used up, then it will not produce any electricity. So for this case, we tested for 21 days, and then we also check the power density, and we found that electricity can be, or power can be generated from our small cell. And as I mentioned that our objective of this research was not only to get the electricity, but also to use the byproduct of electricity as in the agricultural field. So we checked the nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium. So, and we found that interestingly, all of the elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, they are within the suitable range for compost, both in I mean all of the cases. Like, and here is the various parameters showing the performance of the experiment. So we got the maximum voltage around 600 millivolt from 110 into 10 cell, and we also get the current, maximum current like 11 milliampere. Then we got the power density and current density. So these are the like performance of the our microbial fuel. So then we tried with different biomasses. So we tried with persimmon fruit. In Japanese, this is called kaki fruit. So in Japan, lot of kaki fruit waste produced, and so we tried to what to do with this, and we found that when we use persimmon waste sample, then the maximum voltage occurred. Then we tried with different biomass like livestock sources like animal dung, cow dung, or goat dung, or chicken droppings, or leaf mold, water, soil mixing together. And we found that, well, it can produce electricity. So cow dung, not so much, but chicken dropping and leaf mold, they have some um, ability actually. And we use some rice waste like komenuka. So we found that if we use these, we can generate electricity. Or this is the LED light which we lamped up by the use of this technology. And then we try to see like if we use some food, additional food for bacteria, then whether it works or not. So we found that to make a longer period of time, if we want to use our data for a longer period of time, then we need to add some food to the bacteria. And what happens is that we made 10 microbial fuel cell and connected with the series connection, and we got such a big voltage that we can use it for a long time. So uh, this is around, actually we didn't show it, but 6 months we produced the electricity with this very high amount, like starting with 2000 ohm and it reaches 6000 ohm. So it means we can charge our cell phone or iPhone, or we can uh, check our like some USB um, monitoring systems, in environmental monitoring systems, or like sensors, wireless sensor networks. So this amount of electricity is quite good to use in the practical purposes. So here is the conclusions. Microbial fuel cell by using the different organic waste like kitchen garbage, fruit waste or feedstock waste is, so this will be the this is a provide a good way for bioelectricity generation, and it could be sustainable, renewable and green energy. And the byproduct of electricity generation by microbial fuel cell can be used as soil conditioner. So in this particular research, we just focused three major problems like environmental and health problems in urban areas due to unmanaged waste. So in the first, we showed you the problem of the current world. So if we can generate electricity from the waste material, it can solve the waste management problem as well. Because if the people know that this organic waste can generate electricity for us, then they will not throw here and there. They will keep it and use it closely. And then the organic matter depletion in the soil for rural areas. So many places in the world, the organic matter is depleting or vanishing due to over cultivation, overpopulation. So if we use the byproduct of the electricity to the soil, then they will get enough uh, organic content for the future production. But the most important thing is the bioelectricity generation. We need these to produce bioelectricity generation. Look at this animation. When the sunlight comes to the green leaves of the plant, they produce carbohydrate. Okay, and this carbohydrate comes to the root, and then the bacteria, geobacteria, eat this carbohydrate and they release electron, and we can get we can collect that electron by providing some anode and cathode. So this is the system for electricity generation with the living plants. So in my laboratory, we are continuing this research for several years by using different plants, different methods, and this is a very good or potential sources of electricity energy. And because this is clean energy, no combustion of gas or no air pollution, sustainable, no plant harvesting, efficient in situ electricity, low cost, renewable because they use solar energy. So these are the very much benefit or good point of this system, and it is called plant microbial fuel cell. In short, I can say it PMFC. You see, plant microbial fuel cell. So just remember, living trees or living plants can also generate electricity. So what is the difference actually? So this is normal leaf, a normal plant, and this is plant microbial fuel cell. So same thing happened with the help of water and carbon dioxide. They produce carbohydrate, and near the root area of the plants they release the unwanted carbohydrate, almost 40 to 60% carbohydrate they release. And the bacteria who live in the soil, geobacteria or bacteria, they just eat or break down, and at that time electron release. So it catch we can catch this electron with the with these. So anode and cathode is also very important role, where to set, how to set. And here is the equations, how it becomes 24 electron, which are eventually we want to catch it for our bioelectricity production. So what we are doing, we try to make electricity generation system by using some green plants. So we chose rice plants, okay, because rice is one of the main food product in the world where there is also not so much electricity. So let's try to find the way whether this can be possible. And we did some laboratory test, and you can see we use carbon fiber which look like this, and this is the starting of the experiment. One bucket is with rice plants, another without rice plant, okay. So this is the starting and this is the end. So you can see some rice is grown here, and we will see at the same time we can get some electricity. Here is the result for that. So when we use the plant or paddy or rice, then we got this amount of electricity, almost 500. But when there is no rice, it is like 200 millivolt. So we can see if there is plant, it can generate more than twice amount of electricity. So we can prove that the living plants or rice plant can generate electricity. Then we try to see or figure out how is the effect of the compost to this plant microbial fuel cell. And these composts are generated at the byproduct of uh, microbial fuel cell in our previous research. So we showed that we get the electricity from organic waste, and after that the remains or byproducts of this electricity becomes soil conditioner and our compost. So we use 1% and 3% in these buckets, microbial fuel cell. And if you see when we use 1% and 3%, they become uh, bigger swiftly, and they have rise in a good way. So, and we also found that when you use 1% and 3%, they are the maximum amount that voltage gave, like bucket 3 and bucket 4. So what we can say that these compared to without plant, yeah, without plant not so much electricity, but with plant a lot of electricity. And another thing is that when the solar radiation is high, the peak voltage become also very high tentatively. So we can understand that okay, solar has some effect because um, the carbohydrate is produced by photosynthesis, and it is only due to the uh, by the way of bacterial activity in the root area, this carbohydrate can be broken. So this is the way. And solar system or solar radiation is one of the great influence to this system. Then we check whether the growth of the rice plant is hampered or not. So we check, but we didn't find any problem. Even when you use the 1% and 3% compost like this, then their growth is better than the without compost. So by providing compost, the more leaves will grow, and more leaves means more photosynthesis. More photosynthesis means more carbohydrate, and more carbohydrate means more electricity. So this is the way. So here is the polarization curve. So this is polarization curve is the relation between the voltage and current and power density. So we found that the shape of this curve is quite nice, and which is again referred to that performance of microbial fuels. So, and then we find the root system by some electrical microscope, and we found that yeah, these white are root and these are carbon fibers, so they just attach each other very nicely. And then what is the future of this technology? So we can use this technology in such a way that the microbial fuel cell, they can be used at our house by using the food waste from our house, and then we use this to get electricity from the bacterial activities, and that electron which is released can be caught in the anode area and then supplied to the cathode. So this is the way it works, and the byproducts of this electricity can be put in the um, soil conditioner or compost in the rice field. So you can see this compost can be put in here, and then it goes to the then we can get more electricity from this rice field, and we eat rice, and from this rice some um, waste, food waste, or also generated, or like rice burn, komenuka or something generated, so we can use those to make it by electricity again by providing this inside the cell. The thing is that this is the way what we are considering. So at least one light can be used in one house by this system. So it means, as I mentioned, so you see these are very much like organic substances, organic waste or something like that. So if we can provide electricity from these sources, it will be great. It will be great. So that 60% people who live less than $2 per day, but they can afford energy for themselves actually. So at least one LED light they can light up, and that can change the way of the living style. The children can study at night, they others can do business or some other things, so their lifestyle will be changed. So I always tell it that this is the light of hope. So, light of hope for all the people who live still dark at the night. And the number of these people who live dark at night is like 1.6 billion people. So, you cannot uh, just let it go, because we are the engineers, we are the civil engineers, you are the civil engineers, so you must think how to change this world, how to change this situation. So I always request you, maybe one of your idea can change this world. So the most important thing of this world is the idea. So if we have one good idea and it can solve the problem which is suffering right now, these people, that will be great. Only one idea from one people can change the world. So you have to be stay curious, okay? Always find something new, always find something read something new, and to gather some new knowledge about the latest topic. So these are the way you can be stay curious, stay tuned for your future. So only one idea can change your the path, so be careful. You don't know whenever the when will be the idea coming to your mind, but nobody knows, it could be today or tomorrow, or maybe in the future, which can ultimately change the whole world. So here is the conclusions. So bioelectricity can be generated from the rice field by plant microbial fuel cell, and by using compost, the amount of bioelectricity can be increased. The small amount of electricity can be given some light of hope where there is no electricity in the world. And carbon fiber is a good electrode for plant microbial fuel cell, because especially for the case of like rice, the root grows, and the contact between the root and the electrode materials is so important that it can be necessary. Soil mixed with compost showed higher value of voltage. So when we mixed the compost, then it showed the higher value of voltage. So after this, here the addressing the 5 major problems like geoenvironmental and health problems due to unmanaged waste, organic matter depletion in the soil, world food crisis, then global warming, and finally, the most important thing is the bioelectricity generation. So the main theme of today's lecture is to cover these 5 points by considering the energy situation of the world. So I hope all of you have understood it properly, and all of you must think globally how to solve this problem, how to change this world in a positive way by your idea. So I always request request all of you, stay curious, study hard, study English, think globally to change these world problems. So here is the topic for homework. Number 1 is bioenergy, present and future trend. So I think next week you have to submit it. And topic 2 is for assignment, final assignment. What is the challenge for the energy in the world? So you have to write at least 2 pages in English to submit this homework and assignment. So first homework, I think assignment will be later. So I think I have up to this for today. If you have any questions or comments, you can tell me right now. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So before finishing this lecture, I just want to make sure that please go to the module and register your name, and today's uh, keyword is energy, energy. So don't miss. So today's keyword is energy. Go to the module and register who has not yet registered your name. Okay. Do you have any other questions? Any comments? So the final word from me is that try to think globally